Long ago, in a land very far away, in the heavens beyond the skies, there lived a beautiful goddess. One day, she had a desire to visit Earth. So, she descended upon the Earth, along with other goddesses. As she wandered across the Earth, she fell in love with our world and its inhabitants. All the other goddesses returned to their abode, but this goddess decided to stay back on Earth. And then, she met a man. They fell in love, and they had many children together. But these children resembled neither humans nor gods. They were gruesome creatures, feared by all. They were cursed with different looks, and blessed with different abilities. And they started quarreling among themselves. They began to wreak havoc across the world. Seeing all this, the goddess was tormented, unable to witness the disasters that befell the people she loved. With a heavy heart, the goddess cursed her own children. After banishing them to the depths of the earth and mountains and the forests, the goddess returned to her abode, and thus, without being worshipped by anyone, they were permanently abandoned on this earth. Several years went by. However, when men came to know about the powers of these demigods, they started worshipping them. That was the beginning of a great disaster. The story moves to a time when landlords were the supreme leaders of a village and decided the amount of agricultural produce to be delivered to their granaries by the slaves working on their lands. A young boy named Chakan often stops by Lord Thupan's mansion for the food that is served to the workers working in the field. Landlords were the cruelest of the people in a country that was ridden with rampant poverty. One of the landlords of the Kanhirangat family, Lord Thupan, was always angered by people from a lower caste. Caste discrimination was a rampant practice in that land. Chakan is a dear friend of the goddess's child, Illymala Chathan, as he always offers Chathan fresh meat to consume. One night, before supper is served, Lord Thupan confronts his wife for eating mangoes meant for the tribals and workers. He decides to take a dip in the family pond to cleanse himself of the touch of a person he doesn't consider equal. He sees Chakan taking a dip in the water. An enraged Lord Thupan kills the kid and thus faces the wrath of Illymala Chathan, who wants to avenge Chakan's death. Lord Thupan is a product of a time when it was normal to treat people who were considered to be from the lower caste as less than human. He believes his actions will not have any repercussions, for he considers himself to be a powerful person who could get away with the heinous act of murder. Illymala starts unleashing Chathan's terror on the Kanhirangat village, as the villagers start facing drought year after year, ruining their lives and their source of livelihood and food. Some of the villagers also died of painful blisters that boiled all over their bodies. All of them are aware that it is Chathan who is responsible for everything that goes wrong. The crops get ruined, and the men of the family fall to death. It starts affecting Lord Thupan's family too. The scars and boils start appearing on his body. To stop the calamity unleashed on his villagers and himself, Thupan summoned the powerful Gari Devan using his blood. Lord Thupan can no longer bear the thought of himself and, by extension, the people of his land suffering as a result of a mistake he made. But an even bigger mistake is about to occur. Unbeknownst to many, Lord Thupan is rich, and he believes he would never face a problem of this magnitude unless it finally hit home. So he decides to take things into his own hands. Decades later, Kumari is born to another aristocratic landlord family on the other side of country. She and her brother are orphans, raised by their uncle and aunt after their parents' deaths. Kumari receives a marriage proposal from the Kanhirangat family's younger son, Dhruvan. Kumari has no choice but to accept the offer, while her brother is not sure if the family is right for her. He mentions the family being cursed. Soon after marriage, Kumari comes across various rituals Dhruvan's uncle indulges in and is curious to know what they are all about. Dhruvan turns out to be someone who was traumatized as a child by his family, teachers, and villagers and ends up becoming a recluse while everyone mistakes him for being mentally unstable. Kumari sympathizes with him and starts taking care of him, and he reciprocates her love. Dhruvan's state of mind is caused by the age-old patriarchal belief that men should act like men and follow traditional gender roles from a young age. All powers were given to his elder brother. Dhruvan, being the quiet one, becomes an issue, followed by years of trauma unleashed by villagers who start harassing him, making him the person he is right now, the second in line to become the landlord of his village. He has no ambition as such because his elder brother is still alive. Dhruvan is a simple character, and anyone would sympathize with his traumatic life so far, and Kumari does the same. Kumari, meanwhile, starts exploring the forest around Dhruvan's home and enters the forbidden section of the forest, where she sees Chakan asking her to cross the gate and follow him. She is stopped by her sister-in-law, who retells the story of Lord Thupan and the mistake he made in killing a young boy. Kumari becomes curious and enters the forbidden section of the forest, where she meets Muthama, a tribal woman who reveals that Kumari is pregnant, and that Illymala Chathan will protect her child at any cost. Kumari returns to the village, exhausted, unable to understand what Muthama meant, and is picked up by her sister-in-law. Their local doctor confirms that she is pregnant, and everyone is happy except for Druvan's brother and sister-in-law. Kumari is happy to see the change in Druvan due to her loving care. And finally they start trusting each other. Kumari isn't demanding, but she ensures Druvan is always on her side if anything goes wrong. She is proud that she can control his emotions just by spending time with him in and around the village. Kumari wonders why they are not happy to know of this news, and her sister-in-law finally reveals the secret this family is holding. When Lord Thupan invited Gauri Devan to protect his family and his village, the demigod demanded a human sacrifice, and by that, the demigod meant that the first son born to him should be sacrificed. Lord Thupan's wife refuses, but everything falls short as Thupan wants to save his land and himself. His son is sacrificed, and peace is restored in the village and the family. Gauri Devan protects the village and his family from Chathan, but all at a cost. Thupan's wife kills herself out of guilt, and Lord Thupan is still alive, albeit barely alive, in this mansion's attic. He is breathing only because of the ritual he conducted, because of which he has to remain alive even though death is what he seeks. Kumari would have to give up her child for the ritual that would be conducted that year, and her husband and his uncle wouldn't stop at any task. Kumari is determined not to let go of her child and is ready to face anyone to stop that from happening. She loves Druvan and does not want him to suffer Lord Thupan's fate. Kumari gets in touch with Muthema, who helps Kumari meet Illymala Chathan. Chathan promises to protect her child at any cost, but soon, Chathan starts unleashing terror on Druvan's family and village. Just like before, a stone rain is a warning of the nasty events that are on the way. Following the deaths of Druvan's uncle and his brother, the villagers start losing their cattle. Druvan is rattled by the turn of events, and with him being the sole proprietor of the land and the new landlord, he starts unleashing terror on people he starts suspecting. Druvan goes from someone you can sympathize with to a man no one can recognize, especially Kumari. Druvan learns of Kumari's involvement in releasing Chathan from Muthema, the tribal woman, and restricts her from leaving her room as she enters the 7th month of her pregnancy. Druvan, meanwhile, kills her brother, who had come to take her back. Out of breath and out of options, Kumari approaches Lord Thupan for a solution. Lord Thupan conveys that only bringing back the goddess would solve this matter and replace the demigod Gauri Devan with the goddess idol and sword. And this is possible only between the lunar eclipse and the time of sacrifice, when the demigods Chathan and Gauri Devan will be vulnerable as they will be aggressive against one another. Kumari is lured by the idea of letting Chathan fight Gauri Devan and goes along with what Lord Thupan convinces her to do. Kumari is terrified of what is about to be unleashed, but she wants to do anything to save her child and will not give up. She gives birth to a boy, and Druvan snatches his son from her for the sacrificial ritual. Gauri Devan comes out, but his strength is matched by Chathan, who had promised to save Kumari's child. They unleash a bloodbath against each other. Kumari comes back with the goddess's divine sword and kills her husband. Meanwhile, Chathan succeeds in killing Gauri Devan by tearing off the demigod's tongue. Kumari saves her child, meanwhile, and Chathan ceases his quest for revenge against the Kanhirangat family. Lord Thupan is finally freed from living a life of misery and dies. Kumari leads the village by doing the right thing going forward and not exploiting the slaves. Kumari finally takes it upon herself to save her only child from the wrath unleashed by Druvan. Even though Kumari and Druvan loved each other in the beginning, his quest for power made sure to bring out the worst in him, making him forget the love they shared. Kumari, unhinged by the love she still bore for Druvan, devises a way to take the matter into her own hands and kill him. Kumari, in her way, tries to rectify mistakes her husband and their family made in the past to get rid of all things evil around them and start treating the workers and villagers with the respect that they deserve. She strongly believes it is high time they accept their mistakes, own them, and learn from them. The film ends with her toddler son accidentally walking into the forbidden forest as he sees Chakan gesturing for him to come over. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.